Alright, I won't yap too much. It's a big video today. We got our first start and our first drive. So stick around to the end of the video for that. And anyways, let's get into it. Well, as you guys can see, we've got our gas tank up here. So, since we've got our pipe on there, finally mounted, we can finally put this back on. Back in August, I spent an enormous amount of time cleaning this thing up, so hopefully it's up to your standards of cleanliness. But anyways, I figured I'd just throw it up here just to make measuring out these hoses a little easier. Jeez. Yeah, as you can see, our actual little, well, I don't even know what you'd call it, barb, I guess, coming out of the tank. It's all clogged up. So I'm just gonna take a pick and some brake clean, try and clear that out. I have a feeling this is just gonna spray all over the place. Well, I've been holding on to this for a minute. This is our fuel line we're gonna run. Of course, it has to match the color scheme. But yeah, I've cut some lines now. Now, I do want to reuse these hose clamps, just because I think they're way more convenient than the worm clamps. Alright, that is way too small. Well, looks like I'm going to be using worm clamps anyways. So before we go ahead and throw the tank on here, I'm actually gonna create our main fuel line. And that just runs obviously from right here and then to the center barb of the fuel petcock. So go ahead and make that now. So we got that pushed over to our fuel petcock barb. This just probably looks like a mess of tubing right now to you guys, but either way, I'm just gonna route this before I cut it roughly where I want it to be. So that. So there we go. I did cut it a little bit short because we actually have to put our fuel filter in here. So I'll go ahead and do that now. All right, I'm gonna put it about halfway down the middle there because I don't really know where else to put it. Oh my gosh, this is not one to cut. Jeez, what an ugly cut that was. Well, you guys won't even really be able to see this, but just know that I am putting on the fuel tank. Alright, now we can attach our vent hose. There's really nothing stopping me from starting this thing up right now, so might as well. Alright, let's see if I get this thing started. Hopefully this time we don't smoke out the whole block, because that probably means we have bad counterbalance seals. I don't even know what attempt number this is, but last one for today, because my hands hurt. As you can tell, I got this thing running. So now I'm actually pretty motivated to get it finished up so I can take it for a test drive. So all I've got to do now is I've got to take off our swing arm bolts, and I got some new retainers just because the old ones were all torn up. And so I got to put those retainers on, which is going to be kind of annoying. And then I also didn't have Loctite whenever I was originally assembling it, so got to torque those to spec, Loctite and everything. Then we need to put our sprocket on, and then yesterday I got in our clutch kit and our air filter, so we can actually kind of get this thing sort of wrapped up, which is hard to believe. At least mechanically that is. I've still got a lot of other aesthetic stuff I gotta do with like the plastics and everything. But I guess I gotta get back to work because I've kind of been slacking, if you can't tell. It's been like a month, so I'm gonna keep going. All right, so due to lack of sufficient lighting, this is gonna be your camera angle for this. I'm probably not gonna show much. Basically, all I'm doing is taking this bolt out here and putting on my new retainer. Now that we got our swing arm torques down, I'm gonna try and get our chain on. So, gotta take this tire off. So. So I ended up getting a new chain slider just because I figured we've already done this much work, might as well put a nice one on there. So I went through a painstaking process of finding rivets that fit for this, because I've never had to rivet anything before. But anyways, let's get this thing on there. That's not exactly a flush mount like I was expecting from my rivet gun. So let me go grab some dikes. Alright, chain slider is on. So, what that means, we can put our chain on. Alright, I got an RK chain here. I heard they're pretty good, so hopefully the internet did not lead me astray. Alright, throwing some gloves on because I feel like this is going to be oily just based on the packaging. No surprise here, but our chain does not fit, so I'm going to adjust the concentric in the swing arm and loosen up our chain a bit. Alright, concentric is adjusted. We're further away, so I need to go the opposite direction. All right, there we go. Aha. All right, master link is in. So now we can put on our other chain slider. Goes on like this, which is definitely interesting. Well, there we have it. We're officially connected to the transmission. So I'm gonna throw this other tire back on just so I can get all this stuff out of the way here. We'll fill the transmission, and then we can start working on clutching. All right, so filling the transmission. There's our dipstick tube. That's where you're supposed to fill it from. It takes 20 ounces of transmission fluid, and all of the guys on the forum say that you should absolutely use the Polaris AGL. I'm no expert, so I'm gonna take their word for it. And yeah, 20 ounces. And then, if you guys don't have one of these, I love these things. It's a measuring funnel, so it's got like all your volumes, and then you can like switch it on and off to drain the fluid. Anyways, not that you guys care or anything. We got 20 ounces measured out, so now I'm gonna very carefully uncap this. Filled up. There you go, clean this off. All right, transmission is good to go, and my hands are super oily. So the primary clutch is pretty straightforward. Basically, you're just gonna take off these 6 bolts, pop off this cover, change your weights out, put your new spring in, and then put it all back together. Only thing, I heard this a couple of years ago, so it may be wrong, but I believe you want to make sure you're backing all of these off evenly, otherwise you can mess up your threads just because of the spring pressure. So I'm going to do that. Also, another tip, you want to make sure your clutch cover goes back on the same way it came off, because this is a balanced setup, I believe. So another good thing to keep in mind. All right, pop the top. All right, so spring comes out, and I'm gonna take this aside real fast and blast it out with brake clean, because this is like disgusting. So all right, so now that we got our springs out, we're going to take our weights out, which is pretty simple. Make sure you guys can see. So you just got a little Allen head, and your little nut over here. Slide that out, pull the weight out. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Looks like our nuts on here are 3/8, and our Allen is 1/8. All right, there we go. Our weight is out. And then one thing I was always told to look for is to make sure that your hardware here isn't worn down. And this looks pretty good, So now we can take our new weights and slap them on. And as you can see here, these are both a different weight and a different shape. If I could line them up, I could show you. So slightly different shape to it, which changes the characteristics of the clutch itself, which I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably know that. But either way, I still think CVT stuff is pretty cool. So same way, going back in, slide in our new weight. got that tightened up. Our weight moves nice and freely on there, which is good. And so yeah, just rinse and repeat on all 3 sides now. Right, there we go. Yeah, this thing's definitely seen water. There's like mud in here. So you might be able to see here, this one's got a little bit of a lip on it. And for some people, that might be enough to replace it, but I'm not those people. So I'm gonna slap it back in there. And then this one, if it'll focus, has no groove either. Well, maybe it looks like it does, but there's no lip, which is weird. So only one of them had a lip on it. There we have it. All of our weights are on. And then also, if you're curious, like I once was, so this is how your CVT works. So as your RPMs increase, the weights go out and push the plates together. And that basically reverses your starting gear ratio. It's pretty cool. I never really understood that until I took my first clutch apart. Yeah. That's why the weight, the actual shape of them changes, because in the clutch rides on the weight as it pushes together. So I'm not really qualified to explain this, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. All right, so now we're gonna go in with our new spring. Toss that up there for now. Basically just pop that in right there. And then now it's the reverse process of taking it apart. So you got a little X on here, which is kind of convenient. So I'm gonna find my colored marking and line that up. Alright, so that was our orientation. Line it up with the X. Alright, I want to break out the clutch compressor. So normally I just have a friend help me, but I don't have any here. So I'm going to use this tool. So this is just a clutch compressor tool, so pretty straightforward. And then if you're smarter than me, you would make sure that your clutch compressor isn't blocking your bolt holes. So don't be like me. So I'm gonna run these in as far as I can so we get a lot of thread engagement. Slowly let the pressure off this thing. All right, there we go. Primary is finished up. And then I'll clean up the surface before I actually finally install this thing. But yeah, pretty easy. The hard part though is the secondary. Man, did that give me trouble last time I did a clutch kit. So anyways, moving on. Alright, found my snap ring pliers. Alright, don't want that chain falling off. Alright. Snap ring is off. So that means I've got basically a bomb sitting in front of me, which is not ideal. So alright, well, this is the opposite problem that I thought we'd have. So having a hard time coming off. Alright. Cheated death once again. Alright. I'm saying this so I know it and you know it, but our spring is in the number 2 position on the bottom side. It was on the number 1 to begin with. On the, I can't remember what this is called at the moment. Helix? I don't know. I can't remember. I probably sound like an idiot though. That's what I'm talking about there. There's little holes down in there. Hopefully you can see. It was in the middle position. So. Alright, so we got some T20s in here to get our clutch buttons off. Making note of this for myself. The wear pattern is on this side of the clutch button. So our new clutch button goes in, and apparently these can only go one way, which appears to be true. And I dropped my screw. So here's our secondary clutch spring. And from what I've heard, I want to put this in the 2 o'clock on the clutch surface side, and then also the 2 o'clock on our helix side. Alright, that was horrible. But now we can put our clutch, or our C-clip back in. Alright, clip is in. Just like that, our secondary is done. Alright, and then you can kind of tell you have good preload on it whenever it's like pretty difficult to turn. So we're good to go. So we can go ahead and slap our clutches on. Alright, so first step for our clutches is to, I guess, go ahead and slap our, not spill our hardware everywhere. This is probably the first step. So we've got a seal that goes right there. Seals up our clutch box. Now we can put our plate on. Alright, so I went ahead and threw these 2 little bolts in here just to kind of hold this in place. And next we got this plate right here that squeezes this seal. And I'm going to get my drill for this and make this a little faster. Alright, and then next we have some little retainer tabs here. Alright, retainers are down. So now we can actually go ahead and put our clutches on. Before we put our clutches on though, I am going to put a tiny bit of anti-seize on these splines here, because it is a pain whenever your secondary gets stuck, and I don't want to have to buy a Polar. Okay, I had to pull up the Partzilla diagram real fast, but there's a little bushing and then a little nut, or sorry, there's a bushing and a spacer right there on the back side of your clutch. So then you can go ahead, slap this on. Alright, so next we just got a special nut here, lock washer, and our bolt. Alright, secondary is on. And now finally for our belt. So it feels pretty crazy to be doing this. All right, there we go. This is pretty crazy. Our whole drive line is connected. So basically, all I need to do is bleed the brakes and we can drive this thing, which I've been waiting for this for a long time. I also actually got an uni air filter for this thing. All right. And then we gotta modify this, but just for purposes of actually driving this thing, we're just gonna snap it on there. Alright, let's bleed some brakes. Alright, well, the brakes wouldn't bleed, so no brakes on the test drive, so let's see how this goes. That was awesome. Well guys, I'm over the moon right now. That, like 7 months it's taken me to get to this point, and to say I've been waiting for this for a long time is an understatement, and I'm super happy right now. This is kind of a random video, jumping around time-wise, just because I actually had finals going on for about a month there, because I'm in, well, either way, I'm still in school. So if you did enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. It means the world to me. And anyways, hope to see you next time.